Hi, Katherine.
Hi, Jason.
Are we doing an event now?
We are. I think we're at the Blue Metropolis International Literary Festival.
So this is the event as the sun comes in from my basement window. Yeah, so let's explain to people what's going to happen here today. This panel is called Unarchiving.
Yes, it's a panel that we came up with in the spirit of this book that we co-edited called CanLit Across Media, Unarchiving the Literary Event. And I see you've got it as your background there.
Yeah, I do. It's gigantic. I have a gigantic copy behind me.
So before we start performing Unarchiving, why don't we read a few lines from the book that explain what we thought unarchiving means as we were writing the book.
Yeah, that sounds good. Do you want to start? And then I'll try to find a passage that I like from what we wrote in the intro.
Sure. So we called our introduction Unarchiving the Literary Event. And we started by saying, this book unarchives acts of literary production. We then go on to explain that the term unarchiving refers to the many ways in which the archival structures that inform cultural meaning may be reconfigured, refused, and remade through critical and creative practice, especially as archival materials are remediated and remobilized in public contexts. What else have we got in there about unarchiving to maybe create a bit of a mix for listeners?
Sure, yeah, well, I mean, later on in the intro, we talk about the archive before we really get into what unarchiving means, according to us. But then we write, unarchiving refers to the revitalizing impact that arises from the migration of archival materials into public contexts. It also refers to the transformation effect of digital technologies and processes on archival artifacts, and in fact, to any treatment of archival materials that simultaneously unmakes and remakes the archiving. And we say, unarchiving stages a resonant confrontation between structures of the past and the present. And so I guess in the spirit of these ideas about unarchiving, we invited our contributors to this collection of articles to perform what they feel unarchiving might be, sound, look like from their perspectives if they were to enact it in something that could be shown digitally as a video or a sound file or something like that, so that we can share it with an audience, basically performances of unarchiving. And I just wanted to maybe to set the stage for how this happened, share the prompt that we offered to our contributors, right? So we sent out an email and we did this very quickly. So some contributors, I think, some contributors to the book would have contributed also materials to this panel, but we didn't give them much time. So it's only the ones who really could find a few moments to put something together that did. But we say, dear CanLit Across Media contributors, and then we say some nice things and wish them well. And then we explain that, for this year's Blue Metropolis Literary Festival, we wanted to hold a panel on unarchiving. And here's what we were thinking. We would like you, our contributors, to send us 3 to 5 minutes of a video clip performing unarchiving. And we need this video, we said, by April 19th, because we had to put it together very soon after and submit it to Blue Metropolis. So we expressed that we really hoped that they would, and we welcomed them to interpret this invitation to perform unarchiving in any way they wished. And you recall the email. I don't know if you have it in front of you.
Yeah, I suggested a few things just to give them some prompts. Perhaps they might want to read some of their own poetry as a form of unarchiving. Many of the contributors to this book are poets. Or perhaps they might want to show a clip of their own artistic practice, something that represents unarchiving. Or, I said in the email, perhaps you might read a section of your chapter. Or maybe you don't read it all, but you send us a shot of a scene or of an archival object, or maybe you record a sound, something that to you is unarchiving. Read out a section of something, perhaps from the book, perhaps not, creatively, critically, that picks up on themes that you examined in your chapter of the book. Or surprise us.
They really did surprise us with some of the things they sent. And so really what we have to offer today are some of these video interpretations of unarchiving from several of the contributors to the book, CanLit Across Media, Unarchiving the Literary Event.
In my reading of Lisa Robertson's Ours Boat, or Rousseau's Boat, I performed an investigation into what I called the material of palinodic time. That is, through examining the poet's own unarchiving, I examined time unloosed as material. Time in this poetry collection and its many recitations and repetitions does not travel linearly, but does touch the reader. The reader touches upon time in the physical archive of Lisa Robertson. That is, I, in preparing my critical response to her work, visited the institutional archive. And yet, when it came to performing my own unarchiving, I found myself responding not to these recorded and re-recorded words, but to the unofficial materials that proliferate outside the archive. That is, in the videos and the audio files that circulate online, that preserve the poet's recitation and repetition of the palinode, that ancient Greek form that takes back what was said before. And yet what is taken back is preserved here in the recorded words, as well as in my response to these landscapes of dream and gender. I do not have the notebooks in which I first wrote the words that became the lines of my book of poems, A Number of Stunning Attacks. But I have the words I recorded and re-recorded of Lisa Robertson. And in them I find those same landscapes of material palinodic time. She keeps a notebook labeled Dreams to Have, in which she is careless in the sunshine. She flirts with car doors. The city is quick. If quickness is a synonym for wit, she has arranged a parade. It is proper that women stay indoors. See? Some creature has gotten into the sauce, cremini, blackened garlic, her carpet a feast for the ceiling eyes, male bodies flush with squealing. Unclean lives are best suited to indoor rain, best considered against a wall against which the only mirror has fallen. Tattered remnants, paper-made fixtures, an altar for the grasshopper carcass. Fine. Scribbled contact promises, instant acquaintances. The women are learning concrete stains, handwritten alterations. A white splinter in her gum, she grins, she wallows. Where falling leaves are falling still. Who brought the outside in? She keeps a notebook labeled Dreams to Have, in which the sunset is bound up like a cookbook. piling its shifting bricks to low clouds, a child surprised. The walls of the home have been a trick of light, permanent like rainwater, rapid wings behind dreams' unhinged door.
Why was this thrown out? This is amazing. When Jason and I sent out our call to contributors, Marcel Cosman replied that she didn't have a video, but she did have an archival object to contribute. She sent over a few scanned pages from a 1951 issue of the pulp magazine called Startling Stories. Marcel's chapter is about Canadian pulp fictions, and so it was a very apt archival object to send. But on top of that, the pages include a letter from a reader named Alfred W. Purdy. In her email, Marcel says that she thinks that this might be the Al Purdy who famously drank beer at the Quinte Hotel, though she notes, quote, "There's a slight discrepancy in the age he claims to have started reading wonder stories," mentioned in the second column of the letter. He claims to have been 15 in 1936. Marcel also wanted to draw our attention to the paragraph in which he writes, quote, "I write stuff myself and freely admit I am not a very good writer, but I expect to improve." Imagine the world of CanLit if this Alfred W. Purdy is in fact Al Purdy.
In my article published in CanLit Across Media, edited by Jason Camlot and Katherine McLeod, warm thanks to both, released through McGill Queen's University Press, I write that when unarchiving texts, theorist Gilles Deleuze's idea of the fold helps explain layers of time and space as we move a text from the past to the present. Let's unwrap that present. When placing archival materials in the present and/or using digital media, we unfold past echoes, engaging 5 time-space folds. 1, the original text. 2, the original text form, for example, oral, book, or manuscript. 3, the resituation of the text now. 4, today's audience listening to the unarchived text. And 5, the audience's reaction. Today I unarchived Jack and Jill, a traditional nursery rhyme usually sung dating to the 18th century, part of an oral tradition first recorded in John Newbery's Mother Goose's Melody, published in London, 1765. Originally, Jill with a J was spelled Gill with a G. Early illustrations show 2 boys going up a hill. Later, the phrase Jack and Jill indicated a boy-girl gender relationship. I say, take your pick. Jack and Jill Redux. This unarchiving of the nursery rhyme Jack and Jill jumps to a time after Jack has broken his crown a few too many times and developed a crazed interest in rhetoric, or logorrhea, a diarrhea of the mouth. Meanwhile, Jill, weary of Jack's inane attempts to fetch water while largely ignoring her, expresses her frustration. Jack and Jill went up a hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Up Jack got, and home did trot as fast as he could caper, to old Dame Dob, who patched his knob with vinegar and brown paper. One day Jack and Jill went up a hill to fetch a pail of water. Jill, weary of being lured to hilltops with no tangible results, launched into a tirade. Jack, cut the pretense. No more pails of imaginary water. I've tolerated your ruses long enough because I'm strangely attracted. Call it destiny or kismet, but endless strolls up hills? Jack, don't you realize that wells are typically found at the bottoms of hills? Listen, Jack, you just don't know me. Have you ever thought of my needs? You've no imagination. Can't we try something new? Explore the world. There's that new Japanese bistro. Miso, unagi, sashimi, ramen, udon. Oh, Jack. Jill stamped her foot. You don't understand a word I'm saying, do you? But that isn't where the story began. The story began ages ago. Jack and Jill went, well, you know the rest. They ventured different hills. Things always ended badly. Until today, Jill was a good sport. Today, Jack watched angry words spilling from Jill's mouth, falling in a tangled mess about her feet. Jack replied, yes, Jill, you're right to speak. Let's talk. Think of the rhetorical possibilities. Think of the fricatives. Fell, fast, vinegar. The affricatives. Fetch, with, patched. The nasals. Went, down, brown. And our favorite, the plosives. Pale, broke, crown, got, trot. Jill, say more. Use your lips. Share your feelings. Jack sees Jill's shoulders gazing at her, averted eyes while blurting ever louder. Well, fell, pale, ale, hot, trot, paper, caper, hob, knob. Speak, Jill. Share your thoughts, darling Jill. Jack paused. Jill ferociously smacked Jack's face. That's it, Jack? Hills, water, pails? Nothing more? Listen, Jack, I'm tired of pointless punditry. I'm tired of nursery rhyme stereotypes. Everybody says we go up hills, but sometimes I'm on my own, Jack. And then people say I'm playing ball, but I'm not playing ball, Jack. I'm knocking my kite from a tree. People sometimes say I like my new car, but I don't care about my new car. I'm happy I talked someone into buying me a car. So enough with the hills already. People say I'm your friend, Jack. Well, I'm not your friend. I can't leave you because I've never been with you. Oh, Jack, what good are words if you don't understand? You've fallen endlessly, broken your crown repeatedly. Don't you realize concussions cause dementia, pathological verbosity, incoherent logorrhea? I worry about you, Jack. But what about me? You capered off to Dame Dob to get patched. Is that all that happened between you and Dob? You left me at the bottom of many a hill. I tumbled for you, Jack. You thought only of yourself. Try thinking of me for who I am, said Jill. Jack, you've got a one-track mind and transparent ruses. Water's not uphill. It's at the bottom of hills, and that's where you're going. With that, Jill viciously shoved Jack. Jack tumbled down and broke his crown. Jill stepped forward, glaring at Jack's descent, but tripped on a dangling participle she dropped earlier. Once again, Jill went tumbling after.
We are recording.
Rilke, I speak your name. I throw it away with your angels, your statues and virgins, and a horse in a field held at the hoof by wood. I cannot take so much tenderness. Snow falling like lace over your eyes, year after year as the poems receded. Roses, the roses, sinking in snow in the distant mountains. Go away with your women to Russia, or take them to France. And take them or don't, the poet is in you, the spirit, they love that. I met one in Paris, her death leaning outward, death in all forms. The letters you'd sent her, she said, stolen from a taxi, Rilke. Clowns and angels held your compassion. You could sit in a room saying nothing, nothing. Your admirers thought you were there, a presence, a wisdom. But you had to leave everyone once at least. That was your hardness. This page is a shadowed hall in Duino Castle. Echoes, the echoes. I don't know why I'm here. Rilke.
Rilke.
Rilke, I speak your name. I throw it away.
Rilke,
with your
I
angels,
speak your name.
Your angels.
I throw it away
Your
with your
statues and virgins.
Your angels.
And a horse in a field held
Your
at the
statues and virgins.
I would.
And a horse.
in the field
I
held at the
cannot
hood.
take so much tenderness. Tenderness.
I cannot
Snow
take so much.
falling like lace over your eyes. Year after
Snow
year.
falling like
as the
lace
palms
over your eyes.
receded,
Year after year.
The roses sinking in snow
Roses.
in the distant
Roses
mountains.
sinking in snow.
Go away with your women to Russia,
Go away with your
or
women
take
to
them to
Russia.
France. And take them or don't, the poet is in
And
you,
take them or
the
don't,
spirit
the poet
they
is
are.
in you, the spirit they
I met one in Paris, her
I met one in
death
Paris,
leaning
her
outward,
death.
death in all forms.
Death in all forms.
The letters you'd sent her,
The
she
letters
said,
you sent her, she said,
stolen from a
stolen
taxi.
From a taxi. Rilke.
Clowns and angels held
Clowns
your
and angels held your compassion.
You could sit in a room
You could sit in a
saying
room
nothing.
saying nothing,
Nothing.
nothing.
Your
Your
admirers
admirers thought
thought
you
you
were
were there,
A
a
present.
presence, a wisdom.
But you had to leave everyone
once at least.
That was your hardness.
This
Page
page
is a shadowed hall.
is a shadowed hall in Duino Castle. Echoes, the echoes.
Echoes.
I don't know
I don't
why I'm
know
here.
why I'm here.
The other side of the moon. Yes, also, yeah, yes, vision, and form, and vision. The first is what? How first vision sun is there. Things before building there. The young
Oil.
like
See you be oiling animal.
for an instant. Brave.
Sage land for heaven.
Like a token of grief everywhere. This is where this rest. See it. So a black spot.
For you, I am today. I draw to show flowers, especially as I
Rilke,
Our Greek name.
I throw it away with your angels.
your statues and virgins. and a horse held at the
Why can I tell so much?
tender. Snow falling like lace over your arms, year after year,
The poems
as the pines receded, roses, the roses, to Russia.
What treat them to sand? Take
Them I don't,
the pole. The spirit. Death.
Cries of angels held in compassion. Shadows fall into your castle. Echo. Echo. The echo. I don't know why I'm here.